If you enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it to your social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Matt with Tactical Tequila Podcast here. We have a good show planned for you tonight. On the show, we have Erick Mora of Lote M77 Tequila. He is active duty military. He's a entrepreneur, tequila guru. And I just before the show started, I was talking to him about his tequila here, and it is probably up in my top 5 now for
Thank you.
favorite tequilas. It's so good. You have a little bit of smoke to it. You have the funkiness that you get from some other tequilas, like and I compared it to Siempre Vivo. It's got that just malolactic flavor to it. It's got the agave forwardness to it. You get a little bit of minerality and, like we talked about, just a little bit of smoke, not overbearing. It's perfect.
Thank you so much, Matt. First of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and I'm glad you like it. All those notes you hit, that's exactly what we're trying to go for. So awesome. Thank you.
And you hit it on the nose. And kind of just diving into things right now. You're an active duty military. Can you share a little bit about your journey in the Army and what has inspired you to serve?
Uh, First of all, not traditional story, right? I was a lot older when I joined. Honestly, I turned 34 in basic training, so I was like Army old.
Oh, wow.
Twice the age, the youngest guy there. I already had a family, I just wanted to serve. And when I started looking into it, I realized, hey, man, I'll get to a point where I won't be able to, right? So I started off on that side of the house, started on the reserve side. Honestly, I did that for a little bit. Then I was doing a lot of TDYs, a lot of gunnery missions and stuff like that. And I realized, man, I really like this. I'm gone so much from my civilian job. So my background, civilian side is, business development, finance, marketing, uh, stuff like that. So after I was doing this, I was about 2 years on and off TDYs for like gunnery missions. That was really fun, beats be sitting behind a desk and on a computer all day long. And so I was out there shooting all kinds of cruise surf stuff from 249 up to Mark 19. Um, and then I got an opportunity to come in active duty, but in the recruiting command, which, but you know what, this is up my wheelhouse anyway. With the whole like business side of it. Well, let's do it. So I've been doing that now for a few years. And I like it. I like a lot, changing lives, helping people. The transition I noticed a lot was even the civilian side was very like rigid about things. It's a structure. That's one thing I really liked about it. That's one thing I'm kind of having trouble with dealing with Mexico sometimes because timelines not so much. Kind of like so that kind of drives me nuts. That's one of the biggest things. But while I was in, knowing the business background, I used all the Army benefits, got, my bachelor's, got my master's, all that stuff. And that helped me kind of be more definitive in what I want to do. I had a brand about 15 years ago. I had no idea what I was doing. We did really well. And then it just ran its course. So this time, I want to do something a lot more on my own. And I think just my experience in the military is more like, hey, man, you can do this, on your own, make it happen. And that kind of helped me transition into just deciding to do this alone, no backing, no partners. And I think it was just a little push in that direction.
Okay. And how would you say that your military experience has shaped your approach to business?
Well, super punctual. And that, again, like I said, that kind of drives me nuts a little bit when it doesn't happen that way. But I just being honest and earnest in everything I'm doing and giving my all, right? Staying the course. I mean, a lot of stuff sounds very cliche, but it's things that you do every day, right? You do every day in the military. You know, Getting up in the morning and DPT. It's not fun, but you do it.
Yeah.
and it's cold, it's raining, whatever, it's snowing, and you do it. So that kind of drive and determination, I think, helped shape what I want to do in the civilian sector as well. And just more the mentality, the mindset of accountability. So this goes right, it's on me. If it goes wrong, it's on me. And that part of it, making sure I do everything to the best I can, and learning every day, that's helped a lot.
And what would you say there any specific leadership lessons that you carry over from the military to um, launching M77?
Uh, I'd say it's more of a just overall mindset, like work to task, not to time, like this is gonna make me work long hours if I have to. I mean, even now, I work my the military job, and I come out and I'm doing content. I'm working on Mora and stuff like because it has to be done. So that kind of thing, especially being so small, is things that I know I have to get done. I can't be I have someone else do it, or I'll do it later. So I think that mentality's really helped in just pushing this whole project forward.
And what would you say some of the challenges that you faced transitioning from, you know, doing your active duty day job to tequila? You're doing almost one and the same. Like I understand it's basically now a 24-hour job for you. You have your day job, and then you move right into this, and then sometimes both during the day. So how do you transition from one to the other?
I've kind of learned to compartmentalize my tasks, and switch heads, because I got to be in that mode. And I mean, even just talking sometimes, I gotta, okay, I'm not talking about like this now. I'm talking about, this type of stuff. And I can't use military jargon, 'cause as you know, it's a whole other language. When you start saying stuff like tracking and this and that, people are looking at you like, what, like, hey,
I don't.
sorry, civilian head, so I think that that's kind of been a challenge. But at the same time, being able to turn that on and off, taking calls and stuff. And sometimes, you get calls at night from both things, and I have to, okay, I'm in this head and
Mm.
that head. And so I think that's been like the most challenging part, but I do feel like I've been able to transition into that whole duality pretty well here.
And do you see any similarities between military operations and running the tequila brand?
In the sense that everything needs to be planned out properly. I'm a really big advocate for, planning, ahead of time. If you don't plan, you plan to fail kind of a thing, right? So I like to get things done ahead of time. And that's something military is, if you want you there at 6, everyone's there, 50 minutes prior, and someone tells you 50 minutes prior. Next thing you know, you're at the armory 4 hours prior to armory showing up to draw weapons. And why are we here? Because that. So I think that backwards planning aspect of it is very similar for me, at least in my approach to it. Like, I'm already working on my launch for expression a year and 3 years out. So I'm already like, it's not even, labels aren't done yet, but I'm already working on that. And I know it has to be, barreled and all that stuff ahead of time. I'm looking for the next type of thing. And so that logistics part of it, I think is very, similar, and it transitions into both.
And you had mentioned earlier on that you had started another brand
Yeah.
prior to this. What inspired you to start this brand?
Well, a couple of things. At that point, I went into it more of a business head, right? So it was growing at the time. Yeah, I think 15 years ago, all the brands we have now weren't around. There was no such thing as additive free. I mean, it was, but as a concept, as a marketing thing, it didn't exist. So I was happy just being, 100% agave. We're trying to do the clubs. We're trying to do all the social media was in its infancy. And over the last, few years, I took a long hiatus from it, raised my kids and all that stuff. So as I got older, I started looking into this more. I kind of got drawn to it. I never fully stood away from it. I had a lot of friends in the still industry in my old distillery and saw them, boom and grow and go in 30 plus states and other countries. I was like, man, it's really cool. So it always was in the back of my mind. But when I started seeing that additive free stuff, and I really love the craft aspect of it, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do something special, something different. Like, how can I be different than everybody else? And I thought, why not be as true as I can to the process, to the art, and go as artistic as I could. And that's when this whole concept happened. And it took a while because I kind of started right before COVID, and everything just took forever during COVID, like USPTO, the IMPI in Mexico, CRT, all these different things took so long to do. So I'll be honest, in the beginning of the project, it wasn't in this incarnation. It was something similar to what I had before, something cool. But then I was like, you know what? No, I really want to get into the process of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Into the smoke, the wood fire, to stone ovens, to Tahona, to 100% agave. Great, cool. Everyone could do that, The well, all these different things that I want to do, and I was lucky enough that Alberto at Non 1477 was able to humor me and be like, okay, bud, I got you. I got you. It took a while for them to kind of get my vision, but they humored me and have this come to fruition now. So I'm really lucky and really grateful to the whole party of the family and 1477.
That's awesome. And, I love, even just the label, like the label to me is you have the designs on the side,
Yeah,
the little artistic designs, and then just the way you have, the agave, it's like a crown.
yeah.
Not sure if that's how it was meant, but I
Yeah,
appreciate.
a lot of really subtle design elements in it. So like with the bottle, I want to go like as basic as a bottle, not take away from the agave itself, right? From the tequila itself. There's some really nice bottles out there, and it's cool, but I just want to throw all the money I could into the process. So I went with and plus, like, it's easier to fit on the shelf.
Mhm.
Bartenders like it. It's kind of a basic bottle, but I did want to stand out a bit. So we spent a little bit of time in the design and make it simple, less is more kind of a thing, but add different elements like the metallic, logo and the
Mhm.
really design elements. And even like on the neck, you see on the neck, it's the inside, the heart of the agave, just kind of inverted. So all of those things we threw in there together. So I just want to do something as simple as possible, but also let it stand, not be pretentious, but elegant.
Yeah, and you have done a phenomenal job in doing that, and even just a little bit taller of a bottle, it definitely could go on the top shelf with some other bottles that are less than stellar tequilas, but I mean by far that would outrun them in my opinion.
Thank you.
So, in talking about the label and the brand, what does M77 or Lote M77 represent?
So I want to be a micro batch tequila, right? I know some brands do like a special micro batch of fauna, right, or what have you. But it being kind of more artisan craft, I wanted to be a brand that all my batches are micro batch, right? Kind of like it was back in the day when stores people go from town to town, and every little distillery had their own lot, and that's what they made then, and they had X amount of bottles, and that was it. I know it was small batch just to the whole thing with these big brands, selling 3.6 million bottles in a year, claims those small batch. So I came up with this kind of micro batch concept. Initially, I just wanted to do 1,000 bottles. That was it. I figured that's micro batch enough. But I was trying to find a letter number for English and Spanish kind of a thing. So I went with like M. So it'd be like for mil or Roman number for 1,000. But it would have been too hard to, trademark a letter, right?
Mhm.
So then the gnome is 1477. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll add it to that. So I put them together and came up with M77. So that's why there's 1,077 bottles per lot.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, a little bit more than 1,000, but it's like, it's kind of cool, So that's what I went with. So lot, just because every lot's going to be 1,077 bottles. So um, it's not very creative, just very, on there, 1,077 bottle, lot of 1,077 bottles. That's it.
But you say it's not creative, but if you think about it and you dive into it, like there's a background there. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a story behind it and the story of the reasoning of why you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, that's what I want to do. So represent that and something that'll always be small. So if I throw in the name, even if I want to go huge and do like 10,000 bottles per lot, I can't. So it's kind of a, fail safe to keep me on the path of how I wanted to do this initially. So
It keeps you in that niche.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's amazing. So can you share a little bit about the story behind the brand's identity and what makes it unique and sets it apart from other brands?
Sure. But like I just said a little while ago, but the fact that I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think any brand is doing their entire line of just series of micro batches, right? So I like that aspect of it. And the fact that I do such small batches is going to allow me to be versatile with barrels, with methods. Maybe I still fibers in this next batch. Maybe I make the other one really smoky. But at the end of the day, the lots are kind of small. It makes it unique. So I'll have people who like it be able to pick up bottles of it. And if they really like it, get as much as they can, because once that's gone, it's not gone. Kind of like wine and vintages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one part of it. The other thing is, um, people do use stone ovens. Not unique to that, but I know very few are using mesquite to actually cook it. So we're actually using wood fire,
Okay.
and so that's something. I know Matitenia is doing something similar to that. And like I said, Alberto's my master distiller, so we talk about stuff like that, and I like that part of it. Then all of them are going to be Tahona crushed, open air fermentation, copper butt distillation, and then just let it aerate for a little bit to feel it's just right before we bottle. Last time it
Mm-hmm.
was 48 hours. This next time it might not be any. Next time it might be 72. I don't know. I just sit there for a couple of days and sip throughout the day till I feel, what, that's right. So
Right.
perks of the job, I guess, but yeah, I think that's what makes us unique in the fact that just the whole process. One thing I'd said a couple weeks back, and I realized it's true. This tequila you could have had and tasted 100 years ago. No process is different. It's wood fire, stone oven, same thing they've had, 100 years ago. So in that respect, I think it's kind of a time capsule kind of a thing, and that's what I just wanted to do, something very artisan and unique in that respect.
That's great. Going into my next question is, it seems like you have a lot of passion for tequila. Did you always have this, or was this something that just kind of developed over time?
You know what? It developed, honestly. Like I said, with my last brand, I'll be honest with you, it was all business. It seemed great. I was seeing a lot of stuff popping up. And the more I spent time down in Mexico, the more I was like, man, this stuff's amazing. Why isn't this stuff out there?
Mhm.
Because what we had at the time was, Patron Don Julio. That was and that was high end, and that was it, right? There was very few things. We go down there, and I spent a lot of time at the distilleries down there. Then I go around, and I was like, man, just the marketing or the bottling, something changes before it comes over here. Then the influx of brands over the last decade or so, which I don't know personally, I think it's great. It gives people, first, it helps the industry as a whole, it helps the country as a whole, it helps all of that. But more than that, everyone's palate's different, and what someone likes or doesn't like, it doesn't matter. There's enough out there for you. You'll find it, and
Right.
then for like a distiller's point of view or a brand's point of view, it's okay if not everyone likes it. It's fine. As long as enough people like what you're doing, you're good, you know?
Well, and I think having a variety for a lot of people, especially connoisseurs or aficionados, having the plethora of tequila brands and different expressions and stuff for them to try, I think that's on the scale, like they love that, and then you get the new tequila newbies, and some of them are probably overwhelmed by how many brands and how many expressions are out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you walk into stores and there's stuff, shelves and shelves and shelves, and some people go by price point. Some people go by how the bottle looks, or they just ask person behind the counter, and yeah, it's just one of those things that it's a lot out there right now.
And how would you say that? What would you say that makes your tequila different from others that are on the market?
I think the process, there's some that are out there that might do Taona, some of them might do the brick oven, but just all the different components of the way we put it together, I think that's what makes it unique. And just the fact that there'll be constant different batches of it, there'll be constantly different expressions of it. Even if it's the same Blanco, like the next Blanco I release might be slightly different, and process will be the same, but the agave, the field it came from, the time of year, it was fermenting, all those different things will affect the profile.
And do you have a preferred way to drink your tequila?
Me.
In my opinion, the best way to taste it, you get to experience everything that not only the owner but the distiller, you get everything that they're wanting to showcase in their product.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. When I try other brands, I go straight for the Blanco and neat, just because you could tell how the rest would be from there. That's good, and I'll keep going up the scale till hopefully I get to the XA, right? But I will start with Blanco first.
And that's kind of what I tell everyone. I'm a high proof drinker myself. I would much rather have a high proof over anything, because you're going to get, like I said, everything that the distiller and the owner that they're trying to push that brand towards flavor wise.
Yeah.
You're going to get the agave flavor that they're trying to get out there, and everything else, because once you start to dilute it down with water to make the regular Blanco, and then once you start the aging process, if you like their high proof, or maybe you're not a high proof person but you like their Blanco, I tell almost everybody that you're going to like almost every other expression if you like those two.
Oh yeah, and with the high proof is so robust,
Yes.
not for everyone, but man, so flavorful, and I'm looking into that a little bit down the road here. So I definitely want to see a high proof here, hopefully by the end of the year, not beginning of next year.
I look forward to that very immensely. So, and kind of speaking into that, are there any other upcoming expressions or releases that fans can look forward to?
Yeah, definitely. So I should be going down to Mexico in the next 30 to 60 days for start the repo. Um, Lote Blanco, but at the same time, I'm gonna start barreling the añejo. So when I barrel the repo, I'm gonna barrel the añejo and barrel the extra añejo as well. So what I want to do is get from the same lot, I'm gonna get like 4,400 liters and make the Blanco, the repo, añejo, and extra. So it comes from the same lot. That way, every batch. So you could actually, if you get a bottle of each 3 years from now, you'd be like, man, you could taste the journey of it going in this aging process. That way, it's not from different lots, so you really can't tell the difference because that may be similar, but the fact that these are such small batches, I might have one big enough to where I could fill all the barrels for all of it and just open them as we go. So I have a
That would
real journey all the way across.
that would be a great tasting experience.
Right? Yeah, I'm thinking about that. Back to the art logistics thing, forward planning like that.
Yeah, I mean, going to something like that where you could have an expression from the same lot, and you get to see that process, and you get to see everything from how the flavors go from 60 to 90 days to 1 year to 18 months, or however long you're going to do the extra añejo, then you get it at that 3-year mark, and you're like, wow.
100%. That was the thought behind it. So we're just waiting again, dealing with the MP and the CRT and stuff down there, getting labels finalized so I could go into production because without the labels, at least for the Blanc with the repo, I need to have that ready. And then from there, the Añejo with extra I could wait because I'll have a little bit of time for that. But I just want to bear it all from the same batch.
And for this batch, where are you sourcing your agaves from?
Los Valles, so the Valley
Okay.
region. Yeah.
What would you say one of the biggest challenges has been in launching and growing M77?
Launching timelines, hitting these marks, just the procrastination of things. Initially, it was a whole COVID and overlap of that. I'll say this: I'm so grateful to the agave community right now that with the little time I started in December, and we have a little bit less than a pallet left now. And it's just been moving, and that's just because word of mouth. I started off in Old Town, Port Jerry, so Old Town in San Diego. That they're my importers, and they're like the mecca of stuff. So first day we're on their site, sold 3.5 cases overnight. And that was awesome. Then had another buddy, army buddy, out in Long Beach, Ambassador. They picked up, and people started calling, and then it was just became organic from there. I get liquor stores hit me up, and hey man, was talking to my local liquor store. I had a tequila cop put me in contact with a guy, Ladins out here in the valley. He's like, I want to buy it, but I want to buy it from him. Cool. All these different things kind of happen organic like that. Another friend of mine from my office, his son's friend, out in Rialto, Blue Wine, they ended up picking up, and they're moving, and it's been so organic in that respect that it's been great. I haven't had much difficulty yet. Still working on growing, but I want to grow to where I can service everyone, properly. And right now, 9 times out of 10 is going to be me. You're going to see delivering your stuff. I want to talk to people. I want to meet them, see what they need, what they want, what they like. I love that part of it.
And how hard has that been, with the military side of things and trying to, because you only get so much leave,
Yeah.
a year or so. How has that been a struggle for you?
So the trips have been very minimal in the sense that I try to, hey, I hit the ground running, boom, 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 2, 3 days, I'm in and out, and I try to incorporate them with the weekend so it doesn't take too much time, right? Local stuff here, after work, after hours, or weekend, I spent my weekends riding all over town, making deliveries. If I can during the day, I will. But Southern California, how traffic is, and it's not fun. Sometimes a logistical nightmare. Friday I drove almost 2 hours go one way to drop off, and yeah. But you know what? I appreciate that taking a chance on me, and I really appreciate the support. So I'm gonna do it.
Well, and you had mentioned Ladden's Liquor, previously, and Moose there is so big into the additive-free
Yeah.
scene. I'd seen him on social media one time, I'd seen Ladden's Liquor, and I went to the Valley, and I was like, I gotta stop here. He's got a great selection. I walk in. I ended up walking out with like 6 different bottles.
Yeah. Really cool
And
dude too.
yeah, no, he's phenomenal. And anytime he comes to Vegas, he always hits me up, and I'm always I want to get more business to him, so I'm always sharing his stuff. And I think what he's got going on there is an amazing thing.
Yeah. I've been like so lucky with everything that we have out here. Like Louis Liquor out here, they're blowing up in 2 stores. They were really big supportive. I'm gonna start hopefully soon. They said they're gonna invite me over to do like some signings and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of support from a lot of stores and now even restaurants now too, starting to move into that. That's been really cool. A restaurant Old Town Pasadena. Edwin Mills has been there forever. They're doing special cocktail stuff for me there. We're doing some stuff out here like in Rancho. We're doing stuff like it's just starting to move. Serrano, we're doing the IE Agave on Saturday to your anniversary, and they're gracious enough to taste it. They liked it, so we're going to carry it anyway beyond the event. So stuff like that has been really cool. And then hopefully soon we're talking to agave forward restaurants. And I'm really liking that. That's been cool. I was kind of saying more the retail side, but finding those restaurants are actually adopted forward, and really pushing the envelope. That's somewhere I want to be. I don't want to just be in a restaurant, have a restaurant, and then bartender's going to just sell what people ask for. Not a busy place to where they can't sit and say, actually, I recommend this instead. So that's been cool. So that's starting to grow.
Are there any upcoming events that you have planned that you're going to, tequila festivals or anything like that?
I have to keep them very minimum just because I have such little, quantity, right? Stock here. We're going to Stockton in a couple of weeks to do the Agave Beer Festival. Then we're going to do LA Tequila Fest, but also Sabor y Cultura, the Los Angeles one. Can't go to Chicago, not there yet, And then the new LA Tequila, so we have something going on in July in Long Beach. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but we're doing that, and that's it. That's it for the year right now.
Okay.
I just can't, logistically, and even though it's stretching it, because I hope by that time my other lots are in. So, because I'll be pretty tapped out.
Well, that goes back to what we just talked about trying to find that balance with getting only so much leave and doing events that are out of state that you're currently in those markets and stuff. So um, I wish you were going to Chicago.
Me too.
It would be great to meet you for sure.
Yeah. But you're close enough, man. I'll hit you up when I'm out there.
And likewise, if I'm ever in LA area, I'll hit you up for sure.
For sure, man. It'd be great.
So in business and military, what advice would you give other veterans that are looking to start their own business or even looking to start their own tequila brand?
I said something. I was talking to someone about this over this last weekend. They're having some, business difficulties starting off. I was like, you know what? Stay the course. Stay the course. You plan on doing something, plan right for it. Don't wait till you're perfect at it. Stay the course. You're going to stumble, you're going to fall, but you have to just get up and keep going. And you learn as you go. You can't start going to anything, knowing everything about it. Then on top of it, not be kind of impossible. It takes the fun out of it. Sometimes you just got to fall down to figure out how to get back up. When is that planned out? If things go wrong, it messes everything up, right? I just think you have to stay the course.
How do you see what's the long-term vision for M77?
I want to keep doing this and keep growing it, but never taking away from the purity of it. As long as I can keep being as artisan as I'm being now, I want to grow to that threshold, right? I don't ever want to get to a point where, hey, listen, we're going to just have to do autoclave now. Hey, listen, we're going to just do roller mill now. You know what? Forget the hand numbering on the bottles. It's too hard. Let's just print everything. I don't want to get to that point. As much as, as an entrepreneur, you want to be successful and make money, but I want to stick pure to the initial concept of it. And I think that in itself will get me to where I need to go. And if it's not being, Casamigos and selling for billions of dollars, it's okay. I'll be all right. I'd be happy with just having a solid product.
Well, and I think not only just having the solid product, but having that solid clientele of, that consistency of clients that want your brand.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want people who like the product who approach me and who end up finding out who I am and who really like it's great. I love that. You know, I see all these comments and like, oh, or I'm getting tagged by people I don't even know. And I was like, yeah, it makes me giddy. Like, man, it's so cool. So I repost it, you know. I don't even know who you are, but thank you, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
that is special to me. So I don't want to deviate from what I'm doing. That's what they like. You know, I want them to keep coming back.
Yeah. And I think with what you have right now, I think they're gonna continue to come back.
I hope so. Hope so.
How do you handle the competition in such a crowded market?
Um, I cliche here, but stay in my lane. You know, I do the best that I can do for what I'm doing, and you know, so be it. Some people like, some people don't. Some people might like other brands. That's great. You know, I'll never disparage another brand. I know how hard it is to get here, just to release something to market. So, hey, kudos to you. More power to you. God bless. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I don't want to compare myself to anyone. You know, I just want to stay in my lane and do my thing, and hope people like it.
Where can people find you on social media?
Lote M77 Tequila. That's the same for all socials, right? We're on TikTok, X, everything. Whatever you think of, we're on it. But yeah, Lote M77 Tequila. Same with the website, lote77tequila.com.
And one last question: you had mentioned where you had started in Old Town. Where can people find you besides Old Town Blue Wine? You said Blue Wine,
Correct.
Blue Wine Spirits, and was there a third one?
So, yeah, we're actually like about 15 places now. So we're at Roadrunner to pick this up. Ranch in I'm sorry, Beverage House in Rancho Cucamonga, Louis at both of them, Glendale Liquor, like I said, Ladins. Yeah, there's a number of them that are starting to pick up. Beer, barley, Barley Bin in Whittier is another one. El Cerrito, and some of these guys have online, but you can see all that in our socials. I put in there a link to all of our online vendors. We have about 4 or 5 online vendors now. So a lot of people, you know, out of state, a lot of friends all over the country. So that's been saving me a lot is the online stuff.
Okay, Eric, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate your time and your story. It's one for the books for sure.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you having me on. It's an honor to be on here. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the platform. Thank you.
I appreciate you saying that. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
Thank you.